So alright guys, this is the first one of my tech videos that I'm going to be doing. Currently I've got one of my friends, Aries Tavors. He's had a couple of problems with it since he's had it. Piston stripped and a trigger fault, which is common on these guns. So if I just plug a battery in quickly. Gun is on semi, so it's not firing. When you pull semi, works on full auto. And dead trigger on semi-auto. Apparently this is a common fault with these guns. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick disassembly of this gun. It's probably going to be a two-part thing. I'm going to do a disassembly, tell you what I've changed, and just see how I can fix it. Okay, so first thing you do to disassemble this gun, put the rear pin out, and then take it out. You've got the battery thing that opens up there. What I like to do, take off these two Allen bolts here. Just take that off. That one. That one. And then you've got this sling loop. If you hold that end and then turn that, this will undo as well. On the other side. Just push the pin through, it comes out like that. Just set that aside, and then this should. I've done that, have I? And the whole top piece comes off. What I'm going to do is undo these 4 screws here. Set the screws aside, don't want to lose any of these. Sorry guys, just had to reset the camera, kicked off, and I took the camera on so it's a little easier to see. So yeah, so you got these 4 screws here. I've already taken one out. I'm going to undo them. Just put them aside. Off, put the whole top off. This is for your charging handle, which pushes back the feet bolt. What I normally do is just push it over like that, so it goes over there. And what you've got, so close to the camera, get this, just in there, a little screw there. You've got to use a little hex screw, and the one just on there as well. That's for your trigger. This one's for your fire selector. You have to unscrew those. Careful not to lose the little grub screws. This one's always the hardest one to get into. That one out. And what you do then turn the gun over. Got 2 Allen bolts just in there. I'm going to undo both of those. Until I have the right size out. Sorry, I don't know the sizes of these off by hand. That's 1. There's 2. What is that? Now what I normally do is this sling plate just unscrews. Just normally put a flathead in, but I've loosened this off already. So you just still left it tight. Just loosen it off a little bit, and then just spring freely off. And then this pin here, push it in from the other side. Pull straight out. It's just come straight out like that. And you want to undo this on both sides. Just get a flat head. Just hold the other side while you unscrew that side. The other side. I believe that is everything that you need to do to get the gearbox out of the body. Just pull the whole thing out. It will come out in one place. Set aside the body, and you're left with the gearbox. Just ignore the PTFE tape around there. Just did that to create a better air seal. When you got it, the hop rubber was split and twisted round. Changed it, but this hop was slightly wider and it didn't have a really good air seal, so I've just put a bit of PTFE tape. So as you can see with the Aries, as most of you probably know already, the hop up's actually built into the gearbox. Going to give you a good air seal from there, but a lot of it's wasted at the top of the hop up. It's all built in. Okay, so what you do to disassemble this, you'll get a flathead screwdriver. Got these 2 screws just on the top, one there and one there. And undo that. Just hold the fake bolt cover, because it is spring loaded underneath. Side. Off. And there's the little spring that I said, and that just latches on just onto the back there as you put in the gearbox on. So yeah, so what then I like to do, you've got to take off these screws. There's a spring there, don't lose any of these springs. When this is off, then you pull that rod out. That's what pulls your trigger. Then this one is your fire selector. You got 1 spring, 2 springs, and then 3 springs. Make sure you don't lose them. So yeah, so I'll undo those. Put it a little bit closer now. Yeah, so I've undone these 2. Just going to pry it off. Don't snap it. So what I like to do is try and keep the screws in the right places. Just put them aside, and then the trigger bar will come straight out. side. Now we're going to do these two. Get your finger on the spring. That screw aside, that screw aside. Flathead screwdriver just to pry that spring out. It's quite small. Just leave that with the little tab. Flip the gearbox over to the other side. Do the same to this side, so that one, and then you've got to pry off these two springs from that. When you do this one, you've got to pry off that spring there. Remember, the shorter arm goes on the left hand side of the gearbox, the longer arm goes on the right hand side of the gearbox. That's one spring, that's the second spring. Pull that off and just try and leave the springs as close to as you can get. And now these two, so pry off the spring again. Left these two screws. Get these two screws off the gearbox, that one, that one. Then you can pull that bar out. Notice that part of it is flatter there, just so it can just graze over the top of that. So once you've got them off, you want to undo all the screws around the gearbox front, and they're all nutted on the other side, which I quite find annoying because I wish the gearbox was actually threaded, because you mean you've got to hold your finger on each one of them when you're trying to put them back in again. I'll go around and undo them all. Well, here I will go ahead and remove the spring, make it a little easier. Just got a quick change spring on this gun. So you undo the back bit, and get an Allen key in there, like a thick Allen key, or I just get a screwdriver normally. You get it straight out, and you push it in, you twist it, and your spring will come out just like that. Just on there. While I'm doing this, if there's any other videos anyone wants to see on my channel, or any guns, or any advice, just put in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's not a little bit, just trying to. Okay, so now I've got all of those undone. So if I lift that up, all the little nuts be on the other side, just push those aside, then flip it to the other side, and all the screws will fall out. Just undone. Put those, just make sure there's none left in it. Pull your wires off your motor. You notice the wires actually run just underneath these little clamps on the gearbox. So there's no more left there. There's one left in the front. Push that out. Do that. One left there. Okay. And then what you do, push it down. There's the reversal latch. And you can lift the gearbox shell straight up like that.